Yo, 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 yo. What is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. And some of you may be wondering, boss, why are you showing us a list of copied message links here on the official CoD Discord? And why are you doing it in the VC channel of the Discord? Well, I'm going to tell you. But before that, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you shoot us with a because it helps out a lot. So I thought it'd be fun to go through feedback, responses, posts from the community as it pertains to the recent announcement of home kingdoms, the migration changes, the warband system, the king-queen system, and go through and just see what the peeps are posting, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and feedback. This should be fun. Let's start with number one. So number one is from Wheezy. In the home kingdom, there is no PvP at all. Also, is it a pure farm season? So this is somewhat of a loaded question, even though, it may not feel that way at times. Let me explain. So let's go over real quick and let me define first and foremost what is a home kingdom. So a home kingdom is essentially, and I'm here in 325, right? To give you an example, a home kingdom is going to be your kingdom in season 1. Your home kingdom is also determined by the server number that you see on your profile. So in this case, for this particular character, my home kingdom would be 65. You're basically going to go back to your home kingdom. Now, there's two variations here. We don't know if you're going to go back to your home kingdom where the territory is intact and everything is existing and established, meaning that when this kingdom finishes their season 1, are they going to go back to this exactly? Or will the home kingdom be reset and then everyone will have to pick their starting zones over again and then they'll just establish the kingdom going forward and then that is what it'll be throughout. Now, there's some pros and cons here that I can talk about and get into. There's really some nuances on, well, depending on how long that prep season is where you're going to go back to your home kingdom, will that be enough time for you to basically flag from zone 1 all the way to zone 3? Probably not. So if they opt to do that, it's something you'll kind of work on through multiple prep seasons, or they'll just leave everything intact the way it is. We don't know how they're going to do it. But will there be PvP? That's the main question. PvP is really established. So this is the thing, and again, I'm going to do a separate video on this that really breaks down home kingdoms so people can understand everything that goes into them. But in the short version, or the short explanation, is that home kingdoms, the only ways you're really going to see PvP in it after a home kingdom is established is either with fun mock war games, right? So that'll be things that the kingdom or alliances organize between others. And that can be anything from 1v1s to 20v20s to 1 or 2 alliances versus each other or multiple alliances versus each other, right? Whatever that may be. And then the other side of this is potentially rogue activity, right? Not to maybe say civil war, but just to say that maybe you have one player or a couple players who just want to go around attacking anyone and everyone. Maybe there's an alliance or so that wants to go around and attack everyone, right? The thing is you don't know, you're not going to know every single player and every single alliance and every single leader and member of a management team that's in an alliance within your kingdom until you get back to the home kingdom, right? And then you're able to look at the home kingdom leaderboards and basically see everyone with the exception of those that are allianceless. The second part of the question is, is it going to be a farm season? Well, keep in mind, it is a prep season, right? That's what you really have to understand. And they even allude to this when they show you the breakdown here. They call it home realm preparation. That's the point of it. This is exactly what I've talked about since they made that last Discord announcement and maybe before that on what the realistic expectation is for a home kingdom. It is a prep season, but really more it's a prep phase. And in that phase, you're probably going to go back to the home kingdom for somewhere between a week or two. I think that's fine. I don't think a home kingdom needs to last forever, or at least as long as it used to last back in the earlier days for Rock. I think a short period is enough so you can heal, and then you prep. So the prep comes in the form of organization, right? So you're organizing anything from figuring out all the current alliances that are still active, all the players that are still playing and active, and then separating those that are able to fight now, and then those that are just not able to fight yet, versus maybe those that just want to play more of a support role, whatever it may be. You can find players even outside of the active alliances for any that are allianceless. If you need to reshape any territory or redistribute here and there, you'll be able to do those things. And it really is just a phase of the game to help your kingdom be more efficient and effective in preparation, once again, for the next KVK season. Okay, let's go back to here. We'll go to the next question, which I'll go back to voice chat, seemingly here. Number 2, but in the home kingdoms, there are just people from server 1 or. So the example here, like I said before, I already kind of answered this, but there's only going to be players in your home kingdom for the kingdom, for players that have the same exact kingdom number you do, right? So you go to your profile, and basically it's just wherever you migrated. Like it's either you've migrated somewhere new and you know the new home kingdom you're in, or you haven't migrated at all, and then you and anyone else that's still in that kingdom will go back to that kingdom. It's never going to be players from, it's not going to be a mix like it is now, which is basically a KVK season where you have multiple kingdoms in the same season kingdom is another way to say it. So it's only going to be players from each individual specific kingdom that will actually go back to their home kingdom. All right, that was pretty quick. Let's go to number 3. Wheezy says, I feel a lot will quit in the home kingdom season. It's so boring. So keep in mind, this is not a long period you're going to be here for. Remember, they lowered the seasons from the KVK seasons from 75, from rough plus or minus 75 days to 50 days, right? They cut this by a third. They also said that you're going to be in your home kingdom prep phase for a short period of time before the new season starts. So if you're going to be in I'll give you an example. If you're going to be in your if you're going to be in your KVK season for 50 days, maybe you're in your home kingdom for 10 days, right? Which brings you to 60. It gives you kind of a nice even 2-month spread out throughout the year, right? Easily divisible. So I think that's more likely. And if that's the case, again, that's enough. You don't need to be in your home kingdom for weeks or months. A short period of time is all you need in order to heal, in order to restructure if needed, to redistribute, and to organize and to prep, right, going in for the new season. And that's it. So, again, it's not something that players would really feel the need. If anything, I think people would actually enjoy this home kingdom season a lot more because it gives you a little break and it allows for you to continue building those bonds, that rapport with your home kingdom and the people that are there. You also get an opportunity to welcome new people that are coming in from migration. So there's really a lot to look forward here. This is not something that is, sirens are screaming saying, oh, the moment we go back to our home kingdom, we're going to quit. No. Now, if maybe you're there for a month or longer, 3 weeks or longer, okay, then we can kind of start getting into that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense depending on what they're doing. But more likely than not, it wouldn't make sense to just do it that long. Let's go into the next question. Number 4. I should have numbered these. The dots. Here it is. Sorry. Secret Base says, if a home kingdom season will work, got to remove the farming parts of the normal season. So this is kind of what they've done, right? As we just said, they lowered the KVK season duration or length from about 75 days to 50 days. Therefore, the assumption we can make is they're trimming the fat, meaning they're going to basically you would assume, right? This is what my thought is they're going to give you enough time to build out the territory per zone, and then you're basically going to either... And what I mean by that is your starting zone. So they'll give you enough time to build out territory for your starting zone. And then any zones beyond that, if you're not going to be immediately or having the possibility of fighting someone, right? And then if not, you'll build out territory for your starting zone. And then you'll shortly get into your zone 2. You'll have however many number of days in zone 2. Then you'll get to your zone 3. Then you'll get to your final zone, or depending on how many zones they have for that KVK. So I think this is something that's going to allow for the fighting to get there a lot sooner, mainly because of the fact that you're going to have a higher chance of being able to replenish your troops during that prep, toward the end of the KVK season, going into your prep season, and then also factoring in the beginning stages of you having your designated home kingdom zone 1, right, as well. So the likelihood is that you would anticipate everyone, if not the majority of people, would be fully healed by the time something like a zone 2 opens, where you're probably going to be seeing your first pieces of action, most likely. So again, we also have to keep in mind, part of what you have to do in this game is farm resources. RSS healing is such a major part, and some could argue because you get more healing off of resources, it's more important than the free healing just because you have a larger number of overall troops that you can heal from it. And so everyone needs to farm RSS. That's just something everyone has to do. So, but again, in saying that, I don't believe that they need to have the home kingdom prep phase or season be or period be that long, right? That's why we were saying that earlier. I think somewhere around between that 1 to 2 week period, 7 to 14 days, within that, whether it's 7, 14, or somewhere in between, I think that is an appropriate duration based on what we've seen so far. And then it's just a matter of you assess that, you run the numbers, and then you see if it continues. Okay, let's go to number 5. Number 5 here is, and buy up these migration bundles on the promise of somewhere better. So the thing about migration that people really have to understand is migration is not something that you migrate somewhere thinking, oh yeah, I can't wait to now migrate to a new place after I've migrated once. No, the idea of migration is that you are migrating somewhere in hopes of that it is going to be the best place for you to go, right? It's going to be your new home. So the idea here is that you're doing research, you're doing due diligence, you're talking to people from those kingdoms, you're making sure it's going to be a right fit for you as an individual, for your group of friends, for your alliance, or for multiple alliances. Again, with the hopeful expectation that before you migrate, you've done your due diligence, and then when you migrate, you're like, okay, this is the place for me, and meaning that you're looking to migrate somewhere and that hopefully be the end all be all. Now, of course, anything can happen and you may still end up migrating again, but as long as you do your due diligence and you do your research and you speak to people there and you make sure it's the right fit for what you want versus what they're offering, you have a higher percentage chance of being able to make the right choice and the right pick for a kingdom to go to, right? And then again, you'll hopefully still have more than enough time if you need to start, gathering whatever more scrolls it may be. Now, on the side of the other side of this, which is, did I think that there was anything inherently wrong with the migration system they had where it just costed you 5k gems? No, not at all. I don't see any justifiable reason because they haven't provided one. And that's the important thing to understand, is that if you're going to make a massive change like this, you have to justify it. You have to explain it. Otherwise, it's never going to come off good to the community. And in this case, it's not coming off good at all. Even I will say it's not something that I agree with. It's not something that I see as necessary. I think a lot of people enjoyed having a little bit more fluid movement, and that was something that the 5k gems was offering. Now, bear in mind, this may still scale. I mean, this is the thing, is that if when you go to this kind of a bundle rock type migration system, which isn't bad, let's be very clear here. If you go and you do research on how other migrations work across other kingdom builders, and then you look at rock, and maybe we'll do this to show you in a video, but you'll see that Rock's migration system is not all that far off from some other kingdom builders, and in some cases is a little bit more favorable than other kingdom builders. So to me, yeah, is the CoD system that it was, or it is now, and will be for a period of time, of 5k gems, is that incredibly favorable for a number of players? It is. But let's just not make it seem like the rock migration system is drastically awful. You would have to go and compare other kingdom builders in order to make that statement. Of course, you can compare between the two, which is the way CoD is now versus what it's going to be, as they've stated, and then using rock as kind of an Exhibit A example to compare from. But I mean, again, it's so like if you look at it in a scaling form, you can say that players that are lower powered are going to be able to most likely gather scrolls or items that would be under the 5k gem length, right, that you would maybe take to get that. And then once you maybe get to like 25, 30 mil and then above, that's probably hitting maybe around, and I'm just giving an example so you kind of understand, right? That could be hitting your 5k gem rate of like how long it takes you to get 5k gems versus how long it takes for you to get the necessary amount of migration scrolls or passports to then migrate. And then once you get above that power threshold, then it's going to start getting to a point where, okay, right now it's more of I have to grind a lot more because now it's exceeding what 5k gems would probably be at that point. Okay, let's go to the next one without me hopefully going into VCs too often. Look at that, I just went in twice. Let's go to number 6. So what was that, 5? Let's go to 6. So 6 here is a Deadweight versus fighters and the Please Migrate Out War. So this is something that's very true, which basically, and if we're talking about pure Deadweights, I'm talking about inactive players. Now, Deadweights is what Drago's probably referring to as people that are strong, they're active, they play, but they just may not be fighting as much as other people are, or fighting at a minimum expectation for what that particular, for what the requirements are of that alliance, and then maybe just in general at a bare minimum. So in those cases, right, the whole Please Migrate Out is like, look, we want you to migrate out so your numbers do not affect the kingdom's numbers overall. Now, there are ways to address this, even if they do not migrate out. And again, these are, I mean, to be fair, there's really only one of two ways to address this. Either one, they migrate out, or two, you zero them. Now, of course, there is some things in between. You get to the whole, okay, we're going to zero you now, right? You can do things such as having a conversation with them. It also depends on like what you really mean by dead weight. How contributing are they or are they not? And again, some kingdoms will be more aggressive than others. I am personally of the opinion that it just depends on what your kingdom is aiming to be. If your kingdom is aiming to be, we're fighters, we're nothing but fighters, we don't want people in here that are fighters, you probably will take a more aggressive approach. If you have a little bit more of a mixed opinion or a mixed view on how your kingdom approaches things, where you're okay with having fighters and people that farm, whether they donate RSS, or they're just not ready to fight yet and they just need to progress a little bit more, right? And your kingdom is a little more nurturing of that, then you might be okay with that. And it's just a matter of putting those people in the best position to where they can level up as much as possible, and then maybe you're just letting them know how they can contribute. Or maybe you have, and I'm just kind of talking like extreme end, middle, and then another end. And then maybe you have more of like a pure development, kind of more farming kingdom where, you know, you're there because you want to try and progress as fast as you can, but no one really fights in the KVKs maybe that much, right? Or maybe the majority of people don't really fight and it's kind of more the minority because maybe you're purely focused on getting everyone to develop at the fastest rate possible so they can get to like T4, maybe entry-level T5 before they start fighting, right? So just keep in mind, there's a lot in between here, so I'm just kind of giving a couple highlighted examples. But at the end of the day, it really just depends on how you want to approach it. Okay. Let's go. That was number 5 or 6. Where was that? 5, 6? I bet you I'm on 7 now, and that was probably the same one, right? It was. So let's go to 7. This is why I said I need to number these. I think this is 7. Yeah. So in this one, will you be able to migrate to any older server, though? And this is the thing, right, is that migrating to an older server, and we kind of talked about this, so this is the same season migration, right? That's what's coming out. So the way same season migration works, and I'll give you the example here, we showed this off before, is that you will look at something like this. So if your kingdom is in Season 2, you will be able to migrate to any kingdom in Season 2. So any kingdom that's within these here, you will be able to migrate to. That's what same season means. Same thing with Bellerin Season 1. Any kingdom that's here, that's in any of these. And now, again, I should say that's an up to. It may not mean that you're going to be able to migrate to every single one. There might be some timeline restrictions. Those are details that we do not know at the moment, so just keep that in mind. Okay, then let's get to, I think we're at number 8 now, which should be this one. So, Myth says, Mythardo says, thought one of the selling points of CoD was that it was not rock and would be different and better. So, this is a little bit unfair to say, and that's because CoD has already separated itself from rock and other kingdom builders in the genre with its unique features that it offers at the quality level that it does. And that would be things, for example, like true range PvP, having flying units, having buildable structures on the field, right? Not just flags. Being able to have a diverse set of things like choke points in open field, usage of terrain, right? And that last one may not necessarily be at super unique, so to speak. There are some other games that do that, but these are some of having the free healing. That'd probably be number 4, right? These are just some unique features. If you like add all these together and you look at the quality they're doing them at versus other kingdom builders in the genre, CoD has already established itself as a unique entity. Now what it needs to do is really solidify itself on foundational levels. Because the biggest difference here is that CoD, you have to understand, CoD had to make a decision in the very beginning, before the game even came out. Are we going to build things in a way that are going to be more alliance focused, or are we going to build things in a way that are going to be more kingdom focused? And that is more about the overall direction the game is going in. You see, you have to understand the game at a foundational level had a lot of kingdom focused elements in it, even though it was trying to mask itself as an alliance focused game. And that's because of the fact that you have things like you start off in a home kingdom, specifically the way you traditionally do in other kingdom builders. There was nothing that uniquely differentiated the way that you started out in this game versus that. Now, yeah, you could still make an argument that maybe they could have done things later on that would have been more alliance focused, that basically made it so it's just all about alliances and not about kingdoms, but they didn't really do that. They basically followed the same blueprint that the majority of kingdoms follow, where it's home kingdom, KVK. The only difference is that they just kept going with the KVKs. But there was nothing unique about what the actual embedded features were and the design of the game that said, oh yeah, we're just going to be all about alliances. And I'll give you an example of something that they could have done, which would have really shown and been more addressed in this way. When you migrate, instead of migrating to kingdoms, you migrate to alliances. That would have been one thing. Another thing would have been not having home kingdoms, right? Not doing home kingdoms at all. However, for those of you that watched the interview I did with Asya and Leo from Farlight, they acknowledged and admitted that they were already planning to do home kingdoms. So again, this is what I'm talking about. You have to see the signs for what they are. And for those players who've played more kingdom builders than others, you most likely would have been able to see the signs. Is that the game all along was a kingdom focused and based game. It was almost like falsely masking itself, or it was masking itself to some people who thought and interpreted it as an alliance-focused game, even though, yes, the devs at one point did come out, at least one time, come out and say that we want the game to be a little bit more alliance-focused, but at the same time, they're also developing kingdoms. I mean, again, listen, my thing is like this. Be solution-oriented, right? So if you're someone that really wanted this game to be alliance-focused, give solutions to that. Give suggestions that really focus and hammer down on that. Don't just tell us, right? Don't just give us the complaints. That's the most important thing. It's okay to address things that you may not like or that are not to your favor or that are not privy to how you may see yourself or want the game to be played. But at the same time, you have to be able to provide, viable solutions. And unfortunately, most of the time, what I usually just see is complaints. So let's go to, 8? I think. So we're going to go to 9 here. Where am I at? 21 minutes. The selling point for CoD is that it wasn't supposed to be like Rock. Now migrations is going to cost more than the 5k gems. So keep in mind, and this is just kind of doubling down to the other thing that was said, the game has already differentiated itself, right? Just because it may follow a Rock migration model, which keep in mind, other games do as well, it does not mean that the Rock migration model is awful. It just may seem awful when you compare it to what CoD was offering you at 5k gems to migrate. Now, as I've said earlier, yes. I'll be right there. 1 sec. Thanks, sweetie. And so the thing is that when you... Okay, I'll be right there. 1 sec. And so the thing about it is that when you compare it to something that is better or is more favorable than what another system is, of course it's going to seem like a nerf. But again, for me, I don't view it really as... within the CoD, I would view it as a nerf just at face value. But realistically, I don't view it as a nerf because there's other games that don't have as favorable migration systems, and there's other games that have a very similar, if not mimicked version of what Rock does, or more specifically what Rock mimicked and or made adjustments to from other kingdom builders, right? Because there's others, obviously older kingdom builders than Rock. It's just a lot easier to use Rock as an example because it's like a sister game, basically, right? We get it. Next point. Home kingdoms with king system is trash because one player can determine who goes and who doesn't, and then that also means downtime farm season. So let's be clear here, this is actually inaccurate and this is wrong because there is no accept deny system at the moment, even though there should be. The only thing that they can really, you have a soft way to do this based on if you were to lower the power threshold to the lowest it could be, then yes, some people that are over that would not be able to get in unless you raised it and then lowered it back down. So it's like this soft accept deny. It's not a pure accept deny as it should be. And so that's just to clear that part up. And the thing is that being able to accept people in, keep in mind, as a home kingdom, you should want to know who's coming to your kingdom. You should want to be able to try and choose the best fitted players to join your kingdom because there's then a higher percentage chance that they don't cause havoc or go rogue and just go cray-cray. There's a higher chance that 1, they will like being there, 2, they'll stay there, and 3, they'll actually contribute not only inside the kingdom, but outside of the game as well. And for the people who really understood the last point I made on outside the game as well, I will tell you right now, you're already a lot farther ahead than probably other people are, if you understand what I'm saying. And so... also means downtime farm season instead of straight into action. So keep in mind, again, as we've already hinted at this, it is important to have a period of downtime in order to do a lot of restructure, organization, and prep. There's a lot of value in that. And again, for the people who have led alliances and or if you've led a kingdom before, you understand that. Let's go to the next one, which I think is, if it's not this one, it's the one above M. Okay, yeah, so it's the second M. We'll do this. So exactly, hyping all of us up. Oh, here it is. Where is it? Oh, yeah, here. Okay, direction. It also feels super lazy. Instead of taking CoD in a new direction, creative direction, coming out with new stuff, they're just being lazy and copying Rock more and more. Exactly, hyping all of us up with trailers saying we're working hard. You're all working hard to copy and paste Rock. Again, it's just not accurate at the end of the day. Keep in mind that there's going to be certain things that are common denominators across kingdom builders, and some of those things have been tried and truly tested. And it also doesn't mean that nothing can innovate from that. But at the same time, what it means is provide us with something better than what's being done, and then we'll consider it. And that's, I think, at the end of the day, really the case it is for almost anything in life, right? It's one thing to complain. It's another thing to provide action-based solutions, right? Provide something that's viable, and then we'll take a look and we'll assess it, and then we'll see if it can be implemented. It's as easy as that. Then I think we have the second one here, which is... here it is. Oh, yeah, this is one I saw. So... the king thing, this is him responding to myth, and then it's like, I blame the content creators. Like, what content creators? It's just Rock's passport system. They legit been asking for the same system as Rock for months. So, keep in mind, I don't know any content creators, to my knowledge, that have specifically asked for the Rock migration system to be implemented into CoD. Now, if there is one, I'd love to see that. I'd love for someone to send me a link. Now, keep in mind, I don't pay attention to everyone else's content and videos, but I also don't know of anyone who has specifically asked for this, at least among like the bigger, like the small, medium-sized guys, like around myself and plus or minus. And so then they legit been asking, saying devs delivered, and then Dark says, I agree, we disagree with those content creators. I know bossnasti pushes hard for it, but he doesn't actually play the game. Those of us playing don't want that. So first and foremost, I do play the game. Number two, I have never said that the Rock migration system is what should be implemented into CoD as far as it pertains to bundle pricing and the way they're doing the passports, which is what they're referring to. Never said that. I have made example references to things like the Imperium system, the ability to still have people coming in, but I've never been an overwhelming advocate where it's like, oh yeah, in multiple videos, we just need to copy this over. No. It's always using examples from other games when talking about how can we still make something that's unique to what CoD is. Now, if, for example, Dark can provide a timestamp or anything, just post that in the comments. I would love to see it, but I don't know of any situation where I've actually advocated or have said any of that. So, as always, important to make sure that we are stating facts. Next one here is, what do we have? This is one I liked from Dark, actually. Not to say I liked or didn't like, but I just want to say I like this one. I'm down to talk with other leaders and see if they like the changes or not. So, on this note, when I saw Dark post this, I got inspired. And I thought to myself, okay, once I finish this King's Guard questionnaire, for those of you that have been, if you've watched the King's Guard video I did, right, we have a group, a private leaders group on my Discord for leaders, co-leaders, or representatives of alliances. And these people are basically representing the top and active alliances in the entire game from Season 2 and beyond. And so we have a questionnaire we're asking them right now. But once that finishes, this is actually a great idea that Dark said. So if Dark's down, I'll do another round of this, but specifically asking questions based on what we're seeing in the latest announcement. So I love this. Let's go to this next M, which M is just multiple. All they literally had to do was give a server one map as home kingdom, then make migration purely alliance based. Bada bing, bada boom, everyone moves on. So this is the thing I'm going to say about that, right? It's very easy to say that. The challenge with this is that if you put multiple alliances in kingdoms, which you will, right, until those alliances potentially migrate out, you have to think about how many players are you starting a kingdom with. Let's really talk, like the bigger picture here is game health. It's not the health of what you want as your alliance. And this is what the community really has to understand, is that when a game starts out, you're having on average about 40,000 or so players, give or take, of course, that are getting populated into a new kingdom. Now, yes, not every single one of those 40,000 plus or minus players are going to keep playing and convert and play all the way to level 25. But on average, you're probably going to have a couple thousand players that will continue playing right as you get into like the first month and second month, etc., just depending on how well you're able to nurture and keep people there in the kingdom. And what this means is that the more people that are playing, the more players that are, like, this is just a simple thing to understand. The more people that are playing the game, the higher percentage chance that you have more people that are spending on the game. And that's good for the game. So if you take this stance where you just want the game to be alliance focused and you're going to send them back to their home kingdom map, well, at that point, there's almost nothing that would incentivize having multiple alliances there. It would actually be more incentivized to have one alliance per kingdom, because then they can reap all the benefits from everything, especially if they ended up going back and still doing home kingdoms, right? You would want, because we know that the behemoth buffs are going to take effect amongst other things in KVKs. So everything that's pointing here would actually be almostly working in the opposite, because then you're focused more on having one alliance for the most part, maybe two, but really focusing on one. And then what does that do? It doesn't allow anyone else to really enjoy other parts of the game. And so all that does is increase the rate of player drop-off. And now you're basically going from what maybe could have once been a couple thousand active players, or let's even just be incredibly conservative. Let's say 500 to 1,000 active players, right? But you're going from that to now basically to 200, right? Maybe 200 to 300. That's not good for the game at the end of the day. Especially when the game was not initially designed with an alliance-focused approach in mind. So it's just, it's hard. It would actually do a lot more damage than it would good. Let's go to the next one, which is, other than the issues with passports, I think rock migration is a good standard, right? So this is something I saw Valtteri post. And again, I would argue Valtteri is pretty spot on here. Like, the migration, the passport system I would say it's an okay standard. Right? I don't know if I'm going to say it's good or great or poor. I would say it's an okay standard. Now, again, am I advocating for this to be done in CoD? No, not at all. I am okay with the current system as it stands, mainly because they have yet to provide any kind of justifiable explanation for why it is that they're changing it. And that to me is just very concerning, right? Like, that to me is basically no better than a shadow change, right, at the end of the day. Right? Things must be justified. Things must be explained, and that is something we should always hold the developers accountable for. It's not to be done in a negative way. It's to be done because we love the game and we support it, and we want to hear what your reasoning is behind it, regardless if we agree or disagree. You, as a developer, still have to be able to, I don't want to say like stick up for yourself, but you have to be able to advocate for why you're doing changes, and whether those changes are potentially just going to be tested, or if they're going to be, maybe not to say if they're tested or permanent, but just explaining why. Because we know that things can be reverted. They've made changes already, whether that's reverting or re-reverting things. So, keep in mind also that these may not always necessarily be permanent. Just to point that out. Okay. Let's go to second to last. I think we're here now. Realistically, more RSS healing will just result in RSS selling accounts popping up. So, Ulysses here, great point. This is pretty spot on, right? Is that we already know that there is RSS selling that happens in CoD. It's obviously maybe a little bit less than what happens in Rock, just because there is a hard cap on the amount of RSS that you can get. But the one thing that RSS sellers will probably look to is volume, not like quantity, not necessarily quality. And quantity being they'll probably target a lot of players, as many as they can, versus, which they basically already do anyways, but versus being able to have, like, man, I've heard of some kingdoms that have, in some games, some kingdom builders that have exclusive contracts with RSS sellers, where the RSS seller will only sell to them and no one else, right? So it's interesting. Now, of course, the only way to really combat this is you just have to remove RSS transfer. That's the number one way that you'll be able to potentially remove. Now, there are other ways that RSS sellers can still do this, where, as an example, you can attack an RSS seller's base. There was an example of this in Infinity Kingdom. One of my friends that was in one of my projects, who was a spender. It was so funny. Because of certain limitations in Infinity Kingdom, when he was going back and forth with the RSS seller, he found out where the RSS seller's accounts were in the kingdom, and he just attacked them. Just got a bunch of free resources. When he told me this, or she, I don't know if it was Guy or Gribble, I should say when they told me this, I was dying laughing. It was just so funny. Which again, it's nothing against RSS sellers. It just is what it is. And so, but yeah, they would basically have to do that to a point to really strike a blow at RSS sellers. They would have to remove the ability to transfer RSS or put some kind of thing on it where like you have to be at a certain level in order to transfer RSS. So an example would be like you have to be at City Hall 20 or above. If you put certain gating requirements before you had the ability to RSS transfer, it would be a lot more authentic and a lot more accurate, right? Because then the barrier of entry for RSS sellers would have to be a lot higher. You're targeting people that are actively playing their accounts. Or even if you raise it higher than that and say, we're going to put it at City Hall 25, right? And then you can eventually transfer RSS. I mean, whatever it is, in my opinion, I think you should do that season to season. I think in the first season, it should be something like you have to be at like City Hall 10 or 15, somewhere between that. Then the second season, you need to be, and then in the second season, you have to reach like 15 to 20. And then in the third season, maybe it's 20. And then in the fourth season, it's 25, right? Or whatever it is. Like, I think something scaling like that is a better way to do it if you're still going to allow RSS transfers. But something that at least takes away that ability for RSS sellers to really be, and again, you just have to think outside the box. Okay, let's go, I think, to the last one here, which is, Mando said this. S3 is going to be massive. And I think Mando's absolutely right. In the next update, we know that home kingdoms are coming along with a number of other things. We know that the migration feature or the process is going to be coming in the second update, right? 1.0.26. So it is safe to say that everything in here, right, if we go in, and let's go in, and then we'll go here, right, everything in here that does not specifically have this indicator on it, which I'll show you where that is. Here it is. That does not have this indicator. Everything that's here, right, with the exception of personal migration and maybe the realm migration, will be coming out in the next update. That means High King, that means King-Queen system, ranking events, the Warband system, the Alliance rules, season quest, the season progress change, affiliated region rules, division migration, and then the home kingdom process, right? So all those will be coming in the next update, which again is probably, I would argue, a couple weeks away in May whenever that drops. So yeah, I think Season 3, now, will Season 3 be released in the next update? We don't know. But I will say that I think it's pretty spot on, that I think there's a lot to look forward to across these next two updates, and it is going to be massive. I think in the next two updates, we're really going to see a phenomenal shift for the better with how CoD is going to be, and hopefully that will bring in more people, whether that's more people from Rock, more people from Infinity Kingdom, more people from other kingdom builders as well, because I think that the pros far outweigh the cons in these cases, even though, yes, we still should be diligent and paying attention to the things that we would still like to either be changed or done differently, or at least still advocating for those even once they come out, right? Okay, that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you want to see me react to more responses along this topic or others, and maybe you just like this type of thing where I actually go and give you, we look at posts from the community, I give you my explanation and my thoughts, and then hearing from you, whether you agree or you disagree, I would still love to know. But let me know if you like this series or like this video, and maybe we'll make a series of it. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.